Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
to be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. It won't go away if we ignore it. It seems a day doesn't go by without a suicide taking place. Social media is awash with these stories, and as May is Mental Health Awareness Month, what better time to bring this to the fore? To ascertain the seriousness of the matter, let's look at some statistics. On July 29, 2018, Spectator Index published a World Health Organization research that ranked suicide per 100,000 per country. Nigeria was ranked 5th with 15,000 suicides in every 100 suicides. The list was topped by South Korea with 24,000, followed by Russia with 18,000, then India with a rate of 16,000, and Japan placing fourth with 15,400. So what are the possible causes? Terminal diseases can often lead to a feeling of hopelessness and resignation, resulting in suicide. However, we now know that at least 90% of those who commit suicide suffer from mental illness. Depression is one of the leading risk factors, followed by bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. A March 20th, 2018 article by Luke Onyekakea for Guardian Nigeria states that Nigerians have identified the 5 leading causes of death to include sickness, which is at 26%, poverty at 24%, motor accidents at 16%, and malnutrition at 7%, and natural death at 6%. Poverty and malnutrition go hand in hand, and so should be lumped together to make 31%. In other words, going by this poll conducted by NOI Polls Limited, poverty in all its ramifications is the leading cause of death in Nigeria. We can therefore conclude from this article that the primary reason for suicides is most likely frustration and hopelessness, which leads to depression. It is well known that Nigeria is a very tough country to survive in, with the constant everyday challenges and hardships experienced by a large percentage of the population. A country where a significant number of Nigerians live below the minimum wage of 18,000 naira. It is no wonder that suicides are indeed on the rise. As we all can appreciate, hardships lead to depression. However, we cannot ignore the other subtle undiagnosed chemical imbalances, which are also contributors to depression. Our government, therefore, has to realize the role their policies, or lack of, play in this. There has to be an improvement in the lives of citizens through provision of jobs, good education, healthcare, and housing. We also need to become more knowledgeable about depression, and that help must be sought to treat or manage it so that suicide is not the only option. While we salute those already educating people on mental health, we need more hands on deck, more educators on depression, especially in the hubs where people living below the minimum wage reside. We must learn to be our brother's keeper. We must check on our friends and loved ones. And for anyone suffering from any mental illness or has suicidal thoughts, please know that you are not alone.
I want to quickly say that one other factor is the fact that when we have, you would notice depression signs, rather than seek professional advice, people would rather go to churches.
Yeah.
As if pastors are professionals in providing solution to mental problems or depression problem. That's one other big issue too. And so when you are promised heaven and earth according to the Bible, and it doesn't also come, it wasn't the case.
I mean, I was going to say, I like the fact that you looked at various angles, and it seems quite thorough. Yeah. And even when you're suggesting what to do, I spoke with a mental psychiatrist, Kadiri by name, and she gave me so much information.
My friend's wife.
Yeah, she was here. And, you know, apparently, statistically, that 30% of Nigerians suffer from mental health problems. That's 60 million Nigerians.
Yeah, Nigerians, yes, I read that.
And she's saying, you know, lots of times people don't want to come for help, and that a lot of people that come, the youngsters, the parents, 90% of the time, are the people putting pressure on those children.
To go forward.
No, that make them feel suicidal. The pressures from the parents. So usually when the parents come, they say, tell this child, they're saying they're depressed. She first tells the parents to leave the room. And when the parents leave, and she talks to the child, she usually finds that the parent needs to be counseled on how best to help this child not feel the pressure of, you must do this, you know, because the parents don't acknowledge that this is a valid, depression is a valid experience. The other thing I was just going to query very quickly is, I'm not sure though, even though I saw how you arrived at that poverty necessarily equals, so because the people we're seeing showing up more and more are these young people in university who are facing pressures from, so yes, I can see that, yes, there's that link. But I wish there were clearer stats to tell us who are the most vulnerable in society.
Unfortunately, the stats aren't really, they're not really there for us to. But I think we are definitely seeing more suicide cases coming from, like you said, these young children, university, etc. Yeah.
She says apparently that they've always been, but it's just that now we're seeing them more because people are, and you're having copycat instances, like when you now publicize it and say this person took sniper, and then people think, okay, I fit that category, I too can take sniper. That's what she's.
But I think they fall into like the hopelessness and frustration. But you know, obviously there'll be factors that will instigate that hopelessness. And like I can imagine a student that has been in school for how many years when they should have finished, and then maybe when it's their time to take their final exam, they now fail.
Some of those factors really are caused by pressure from parents. Look at your mates. Is that not your mate? Or you feel you're better as a musician, but your parents want you to be a lawyer or a medical doctor. And now, they are calling your mother Mama Doctor. You have not even entered the university. They're already calling her Mama Doctor. Oh, this boy exhibits some medical traits. You know, and so you pressurize that child.
Or if they're even forcing a child to marry somebody they don't want to marry.
Don't go out. Don't play with this person. You don't allow them to be who they want to be. You know, thereby guiding them.
Yeah, she says a lot of parents are living through their children.
What I would like to add is, first and foremost, I think we need to recognize that suicide is actually a global issue.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Among young people is actually growing globally, not just in Nigeria. And we must not shy away from the fact that social media is a huge contributory factor.
True.
Look, like the doctor told you that young people have always felt under pressure. You did, I did, right? But the difference is, you now have social media that says, hang on a minute, you're not the only one under pressure, that one too, and that's what he did to sort himself out. So copycat suicide is actually beginning to happen more. When we talk, what I like to see is that when we talk about suicide, and I agree with you, I think it's not even so much poverty and everything you're saying for me is a sense of despondence.
Yes.
When you just feel, I just can't go on anymore. I got no money, I can't pass school. The boy that killed himself, right? The boy that killed himself recently on that
Facebook, left a note for them to come and collect his body.
And that's also the other thing we have to be able to accept. He said, thank you to all those who came to my help. Thank you to all those who called me. Thank you to all those who texted. Right? So people didn't ignore him. He called and people went to him. Some came to his house. He said, but I can no longer go on. In cases like that, unless you can admit him or her into a facility, and we don't have such facility, at least we only have one or two anyway, unless you can admit that person into that child or that person into a facility, into a home or whatever, they're going to do what they want to do because, you know, we look at the point, all sorts of mental illness. You've got schizophrenia, you have bipolar, you have so many things. And when, especially if you think of schizophrenia, where you're hearing something is saying something to you, and you're fighting those voices. And then, like Libera said, the pastor is then coming along and saying, in the name of Jesus, something. It's like,
and the worst part about it is the stigma attached to it. So even if you're hearing these voices, you're not to tell somebody that you're hearing them. You know, like I've been quite open about when I used to hear voices as a child. Yes. You know, but many people will not.
Maybe will not. Is that spirit of God?
No.
Or from your village?
No,
exactly. That's what they tell you here.
Exactly. But you know, I kept it to myself, and it was only when later on I told Ekene, because we're in the same school, and I told my mom as well, and you know, so you know, she was shocked that I was hearing such voices, and for a while I couldn't place it, I couldn't understand it, but I didn't want to talk to anyone because I didn't want them to think that I was mad, you know, and like people who have breakdowns, they don't even want to say it because other people are going to be looking at them thinking, this human being.
We feel, you know, mental health problems, we see it, we just reduce it and narrow it to madness.
Madness.
And so nobody wants to be tagged a madman. Then the entire community will take care of a child. But now look out, you are on your own.
Dementia, Parkinson's disease, all those so many old people that are walking around, they forget where home is. You know, and we have to, I mean, really something needs to be done. I think, thank you, Uche, for bringing it up.
Thank you. Well, I mean, we could go on, but wow, anyway. A sobering but necessary advocacy, Ireti turns our attention to another controversial matter after the break.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
justice. It's a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
very
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, you know, the news.